So let me just get this straight. You hold the Philadelphia Eagles to under 4 yards per play. You stop not one, not two, but three tush pushes, and Jahmyr Gibbs had like 146 total yards. And you're telling me the game was like not even in question for any point of it? Are you kidding? So the Lions lose a deeply, deeply frustrating game, 16-9 to the defending champ Philadelphia Eagles. And oh my Lord, that game, oh boy. The frustration that I felt from that game, considering how honestly unreal the defense played the entire time, is shocking. The fact that I'm this annoyed and frustrated and pissed off because the offense was so just awful. Like, there's no other way to say it. They were horrible tonight. And credit to the Eagles defense. They had a big part with that. But the Lions offense couldn't move the ball at all. And they just wasted a fantastic defensive effort from this team. Or what? Fantastic effort from this defense. That's what I meant to say. And they lose. They're now 6-4. The Lions were 5-1 at one point this season, and now they're 6-4. They're currently third in the NFC North, which is just hilarious. And more this season is really not feeling like the Lions' year at all. So welcome in, everyone. If you're new here, my name is Zach Payne. I make Lions content here on YouTube, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of Eagles fans watching this video. So before you comment and laugh and dunk on the Lions for that dominant defensive effort you guys had tonight, take 3 seconds, click like, click subscribe, ring that notification bell. It really does help the channel grow. This is a really small channel. Again, it takes 5 seconds. And if you're going to be here, you might as well do those 3 things. So I actually am going to start in reverse order with this game because I have to talk about something that happened at the end before I talk about the rest of this game, because that is going to be something that a lot of Lions fans use as their cope for this game. The defensive pass interference called on Rock Ya-Sin at the end of the game. Let's just call a spade a spade. That was a horrible call. That was not defensive pass interference. If anything, that was offensive pass interference on A.J. Brown, who pushed off. They throw a flag, and that effectively ends the game. And I want to mention that now because 2 things can be true. 1, that was a horrible call. 2, there are plenty of reasons the Lions lost this game. And honestly, I don't have faith that the Lions offense would have done anything with the possession anyways. So I'm not too bent out of shape about it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, that cost the Lions the game. No, it didn't. Let's be honest. It didn't. The Lions going 0 for 5 on 4th down cost them the game. And the offense being generally ineffective cost them the game. That flag, while frustrating, and while that was the tipping point, I guess, if you want to call it that, that flag in a vacuum did not cost the Lions the game. It was just a bad call. Bad calls happen, and it's frustrating for sure. It is what it is. That's all I'm going to say about it. If you want to sound off on that call, be my guest. But I'm going to go talk about the rest of the reasons the Lions lost now. Honestly, it's the main one. It's the offense. The offense was horrible in this game, and it boils down to a few factors. Coming into this game, I laid out that the key for the Lions was going to be running the ball at least moderately effectively because the Eagles are very susceptible to the play action this season. We saw that on the 1-2 play drive that the Lions had. The first play they had to Amon-Ra, where they draw in multiple DBs and the linebackers, and Amon-Ra gets open over the top for a big gain, and then the next play, Jameson Williams over the middle, blah, 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 blah. Bang. Touchdown, all that. It was fun. It was great. It was awesome, wasn't it? But the problem is you can't run the play action effectively when you don't run the ball effectively, and the Lions just all day were so ineffective running the ball. The run blocking was way too inconsistent. They had a couple of okay plays, but in general, the Eagles front did a fantastic job. Jordan Davis and Jalen Phillips in the middle. Editing Zach here because I misspoke in this clip. I meant Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, who were both fantastic, had 5 batted balls between them. They were so annoying to play against. Especially were really good. And what was that other guy's name? I'm sorry. I'm not an Eagles fan. I don't know everyone. Moro Ojomo. I'm so sorry if I butchered that name. And Eagles fans, please tell me more about this guy, because that guy was spectacular, especially in the first half. He had a big stuff on Jahmyr Gibbs on one of the 4th downs early. I'm pretty sure he was also one of the guys in there on the fake punt. I don't know if it was him or Jalen Carter. I'm sorry, I didn't get a clear look. All I saw was that Trevor Nowaski was the guy trying to block him, and it went horribly. But Ojomo, assuming I'm pronouncing that right, I'm sorry. That guy was also unbelievable. The entire interior of the Eagles did fantastic against the run, and the edge defenders were so good in general in the pass and the run. Jalen Phillips, that trade looks spectacular for the Eagles. That guy was an absolute menace all game, and the one fourth down that really killed me, the 4th and goal, where Brock Wright is wide open. If Jared Goff just has a second to look and, read the defense, and Jalen Phillips just eats Penei Sewell's lunch money. Penei Sewell, that's not easy to do. I know that Eagles and Lions fans have this kind of pseudo war about who's the best tackle. We don't have to. Penei Sewell's definitely not the best pass blocker in the league. Jalen Phillips took his lunch money on that play and completely threw off the rhythm and saved a touchdown. We saw Brock Wright was wide open. So there's at least one play. He had a sack in this game. He was just flying all over the defense. That guy looks unbelievable. And honestly, the offense, while it was mostly ineffective in the first half, I came into the second half being like, okay, if the Lions can at least come out and do some decent things in the second half, get the run game going, just try to do anything, because this is a competitive game. They could have won the thing. But the problem is, in the second half, the run game was so ineffective, and once the Eagles went up 2 scores especially, they then, it was the same idea as when the Lions played the Chiefs, and the Lions got into these situations where they're going to pass, and so the Eagles pass rush just pins their ears back, and when the Eagles pass rush pins their ears back, they are so unbelievably good. And it just disrupted everything that the Lions want to do, and it especially disrupted Jared Goff, who was, quite frankly, horrible in this game. Coming into this game, Goff, I believe, was a 74% completion percentage in the season, like as a whole so far. In this game, he was 14 of 37 passing for 255 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That came on a deflection. I'll talk about that in a second as well. He took a couple of sacks, a 60.1 passer rating. Not good. And it's not just the fact, like, you look at the stats and be like, wow, he was really inaccurate, whatever. It's not even just that. The decision making wasn't there. He was forcing the ball to Amon-Ra so much. I have it pulled up here. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 2 catches on 12 targets. Now, there is at least 1 drop. You can argue that there was a second drop in there as well, a play where the pass was kind of behind him. I give him a break on that one. That's more on Goff, in my opinion, but there's at least 1 drop. I know J-Mo had a drop in there too. But there was a lot of plays where Goff was just missing. He was throwing it in the dirt, throwing it away. He was flustered. He was panicking. He was under pressure all night. Again, the 4th and goal kills me because Brock Wright is wide open, but because he's under pressure, he throws it to Amon-Ra in the back of the end zone, who's blanketed, and it was incomplete. It was just a horrible experience. So the pass protection, not great. The run blocking, not great. Jared Goff, not great. And that brings us to the next thing, the 4th downs. This is going to be the main story of the game, because if you look at the Lions' yardage on the whole, they had almost 300 total yards, which is not horrible. Like, that's fine yardage-wise, but the problem is the Lions had 0 ability to finish drives in this one. The Lions obviously go 0 for 5 on 4th down. I talked about the 4th and goal earlier. 4 of those were the offense. 1 of those was a super obvious fake punt. I even called on stream earlier. I was like, watch the Lions. Hey, they haven't done a fake punt this season, and they do one at the worst time. It goes horribly. They went 0 for 5 on 4th down. Absolutely horrible from just an execution standpoint. And also Dan Campbell, this is one of the worst managed games that he's had probably since 2021. Like, honestly, one of the worst of his tenure. I don't know what it was. I don't know if calling the offensive plays has affected his ability to manage the game properly. I don't want to make, that's not an excuse, honestly. You want to take over the plays, then you should have someone else helping with that. Because what killed me is you fail on 4th down with the Jahmyr Gibbs run up the middle from your own side of the 50, from their 49 or whatever. Okay, fine. You don't get it. It is what it is. Eagles stop you. The next drive, you come out and you're on even further in your own territory. You're on 45, and you call a fake punt on a 4th and 2.5, 4th and 3, and it also doesn't work. So now you've called back-to-back, go for it on 4th downs from your territory. That's just a little too aggressive for my liking. Now, you could argue that he should have kicked the field goal on the 4th and goal. At the end of the day, the Lions lost by 7. That wasn't the reason they lost, but it just is, it's the same thing, man. The 4th downs were way too aggressive early and just not executed well. Some of the play calls were horrible. There was one where the Lions tried to go for it on on 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8. They tried to run the ball to set up a 4th and short, which is something the Lions have done in the past very successfully, but they only gain 1 yard and they keep the offense on the field anyways. And what are we doing? The other thing that killed me was the end of the first half where the Eagles would score their one touchdown. They drive down the field, and once they get inside the 10-yard line, Dan Campbell doesn't call a single timeout. He allows the Eagles to drain the rest of the time down to 10 seconds, or it was like 16 seconds. And then with 16 seconds, all 3 timeouts, the Lions get the touchback up to the 35, and they don't even try to do anything on offense. The last 2 minutes of the first half were just infuriating from a clock management standpoint. And on the whole, man, just the third and fourth downs were like, they're, again, that's the main story. The Lions 3 for 18 in those situations. This was a game that was billed as a NFC heavyweight face-off, like clash of the heavyweights, 2 of the best in the NFC. And I can confidently say the Lions offense, at least, did not play like they were one of the best in the NFC. They didn't execute when it mattered. They weren't honestly just good in general. And like the Eagles defense had them in a box all night. And it's such a shame. Again, the Lions defense, they looked unreal to their own right. And we could talk about the Eagles offense and if you want, but the Lions offense just was not up to snuff tonight. They were horrible, not up to the standard that they set for themselves, not up to the standard of a playoff team in general, a team that wants to be a playoff team, a team that wants to win the NFC North, a team that wants to compete for a Super Bowl, needs to execute better than that on offense, plain and simple. The only good thing on offense was Jahmyr Gibbs. Like I said off the top, he had 146 total yards of offense. He was spectacular in open space, over 100 yards as a receiver in this game. And man, was he electric in the open field multiple times, just getting out in space, making people miss, breaking tackles, just getting more yards than he honestly should have on those plays. He was spectacular, and it's a shame because he was the only thing on offense that was even trying to work. I guess I should. Jameson Williams had 4 catches for 88 yards. He had a brutal drop, but Jameson Williams, a couple of nice catches on crossing routes, one going for a 40-yard touchdown. That was nice. Obviously, you don't like the excessive celebration for touching the upright, which was something that they banned in 2014, I believe, which led to a missed extra point. Again, didn't end up mattering, but just a mental thing for JMO. But at the same time, fantastic play from him. He's looking a lot more like a legitimate potential star receiver. I don't know how to classify him because he's looking like a 1,000-yard receiver. Is that fair? That's fair. So yeah, horrible from the offense. Again, it felt like the Chiefs game in the second half where the Eagles were just teeing off. When they pin their ears back, the Lions' interior offensive line just can't handle it. They're not up to snuff. And Sewell didn't have a great game either. Decker was perfectly fine, but Sewell, not a good pass protecting day. The interior, not a great day in general. So yeah, that's your story, folks. Eagles defense, dominant. Now, I do just want to gush about the Lions defense for a second here because this is the one reason for legitimate optimism coming out of this game. Kelvin Shepherd has this unit absolutely dialed. Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, those 3 starting linebackers are unbelievable. Jack Campbell continues to play at like an all-pro level. I don't know if he'll get there because part of all-pro is having like the name recognition to be an all-pro. Regardless, he has been spectacular this season. Alex Anzalone had a couple of huge plays. He had the one like 6 or 7 yard TFL against Saquon. That was fantastic. And again, those linebackers are fantastic. DJ Reader, he's been up and down this season. Oh my Lord, was he amazing in the middle of the defense. Tyleek Williams continues to just be such a good run defender as a rookie. Again, he doesn't really offer much as a pass rusher, but as a run defender, that man is fantastic. Like I said, the Lions stuffed 3 tush pushes tonight. DJ Reader and Tyleek in the middle of that defense. Now, Eagles fans, I'll give you this one. The false start, the first one, that was a weird call because Tyleek Williams jumped, but they call a false start. I think they called the false start because the right guard, I forget his name, forgive me, was swiping at Tyleek's hand, and they ruled that a false start, I guess. But that was a weird call. The second false start was legit, but the 3 that the Lions actually stopped, those were legit. Those were legitimate stuffs, and that's the only reason the Lions even got to 9 points because they stopped 2 tush pushes at the 30 back-to-back to give the offense the ball at the 30 with like 3 minutes to go. The offense lost 7 yards, and then Bates had to kick a 50-yard field goal. And I also have to shout this guy out, Roy Lopez. You probably haven't heard that name before, especially if you're not a Lions fan. He is the backup nose tackle for the Lions, backing up DJ Reader. Again, spectacular up the middle. He had half a sack. Honestly, he could have had a whole sack. Aiden Hutchinson did get there first, so he gets half of it as well. But Roy Lopez in the middle, he had a couple of splash plays. He was fantastic. Al-Qadim Muhammad had a couple nice plays. I'm just looking at the Lions depth chart here. Jack Campbell, like I said, was fantastic. Rocky Scene, he was in coverage of A.J. Brown most of the night. A.J. Brown had a number of catches. He wasn't dominant, but he was good. Amik Robertson. Oh my lord, I love this man. He was in coverage of Devontae Smith most of the night, and he was spectacular. He also had a huge TFL on A.J. Brown on a screen pass where he just ducked under the offensive tackle, and perfect technique on the tackle against Brown, a much larger guy. Brian Branch, he got dinged for one really stupid penalty where he hit a guy in the head after a completion, defenseless receiver, all that. That was annoying. Aside from that, Branch was fine. Thomas Harper playing in the safety, filling in for Kirby Joseph, he was all right. But Aiden Hutchinson, I do want to talk about him because there's something that I do have to criticize him on. He has been shockingly bad as a run defender this year, which is it's shocking because he's not incapable. We have 2.5 years of evidence in his career so far that he's a good to great run defender. And he has just not been setting the edge well at all this season, to the point where teams are starting to target him and run off the edge on his side because they know he's going to crash in and expose the edge. Tank Bigsby had like a 19-yard run in this game. That was exactly that. Hutchinson just diving inside and Bigsby being like, okay, thank you for the edge. And he just ran outside. So Hutchinson, I'm flagging that. I've talked about it before, but he has not been good enough setting the edge this season. And we have guys opposite him. I know that the other edge defenders can't do that either. Josh Pascal and Marcus Davenport are working their way back. Josh Pascal especially is really good at that, so that will be a big boost for this defense. Aleem McNeil was playing edge at points in this game because they wanted to have a heavy front with Tyleek and Aleem out there. Derek Barnes was playing the edge as well because he can somewhat set the edge. But yeah, the defense overall good, but setting the edge is still something we need to flag as not good enough. Aside from that, though, yeah, man, super frustrating game. Lions lose, score less than 10 points. Offensively, it felt very similar to the Packers game, but worse because the offense in this one actually moved the ball and just didn't finish drives. They had no finish in this one, which was super frustrating to see. Coming into this game, I just said, you can look at my preview. I said that I want this to be a competitive game. Don't get blown out. Prove that you can beat the Eagles. And I sit here after the fact, frustrated because yes, the Lions are capable of beating the Eagles, and I think I'm more frustrated now than I would have been if this was like a 27-24 game. Fine, you lose, whatever. But I'm super frustrated in this one because it kind of feels like the Lions should have won almost with how good the defense was and how many opportunities they had on offense that they just consistently were unable to execute on. Again, I don't mean that as to say that the Eagles didn't deserve to win because obviously they did. The fact of the matter is, the defending champs were better in the high leverage moments, which is what you expect from a championship team. And that is what separates the Lions from the Eagles, is executing when it matters most. So that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your thoughts on this game down in the comments below, whether you're a Lions fan, Eagles fan, or a fan of a neutral team. I know I have Bears and Packers fans that are probably going to talk about the fact that the Lions are third in the division right now, which does not feel good. But aside from that, if you made it this far, consider hitting the like button, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any future content, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.